Hi, I'm Christian Easterday. I'm the CEO and Managing Director of Hot Chili, one of the premier copper developers of the world, developing a very large-scale asset on the Chilean coastline.
Christian, good to see you. So a bit of exciting news out. Well, first of all, maybe give us a sprinkling of some of the drill results, and I'm going to get into some questions with you.
Yeah, thanks, Nat, and great to be with you. A very exciting morning for Hot Chili. We have just released a very significant announcement outlining a lot of significant drilling intersections coming in from a new discovery, a new major discovery that the company has confirmed on the Chilean coastline, about 30 kilometers south from where the company already has around a 1 billion ton resource base.
Okay, well, let's maybe look at some of those drills. So I'm looking at 320 meters of 0.3 copper and 0.1 gold. It's pretty impressive. I mean, what are the insights that we should be taking away from this press release?
Yeah, look, it is impressive, Matt. It's very early, but when I say early, the company wanted to make sure we released the first two drill results just before Christmas. Not a lot of people maybe caught what had happened, but following 6 years to consolidate this area to the south of our flagship project, we were able to get our hands on, for the first time, a large-scale porphyry footprint, which had been owned by family and various different landowners. We got our hands on it. We started drilling. We put out a very impressive first two drill results before Christmas, and then we've spent the last couple of months drilling and making sure that this was, in fact, what we are now seeing, which looks like the third major addition to our resource base. 300, 200 meter intercepts, a lot of strong gold, a lot of strong copper. And what's really impressive is this is from near surface, with most of the drill holes ending in mineralization in the RC drilling that we're undertaking. And this deposit, or this major discovery, is open in all directions, and particularly at depth. But what we very much like is the wide, consistent intersections of copper and gold that we're seeing.
Okay, but what does this mean? Obviously, you've got a couple of other discoveries. Costa Fuego, we've talked about, ad nauseum here, but the market's not rewarding you for that. So how does this La Verde discovery fit into the kind of growth strategy and portfolio that you're looking at?
Well, look, we've never stopped exploring. We've never stopped consolidating this part of the coastline of Chile. We've been doing this for 16 years, starting from a resource base of nothing, with no land holding. This is now something that Hot Chili controls, all of this low elevation coastal land holding to the north of Santiago. We've built 1 billion ton resource bases out of two very significant discoveries in the company's history. Firstly, Productora, and then Cortadera. And La Verde, now as the third major discovery, looks to be probably adding very, very significantly to that 1 billion ton resource base. And in the copper sector, size is everything. We're currently completing a pre-feasibility on that copper project. And so we've been moving through the development cycle, but for the last couple of years, we've very much missed this growth element. So we've been very patient. We finally got our hands on La Verde after 6 years of consolidation, and now we're seeing the fruit of that labor. So very early days, but very, very impressive. And this drilling is really uncovering something a lot larger than we'd first recognized.
Okay, and how does La Verde compare geologically to Cortadera and Productora? In fact, what are the geological structures that you're looking at?
Yeah, this is a porphyry, so these are the ones you want, particularly the ones that have got high gold. Some of the drilling intercepts that are coming out are 100 meters at 0.7% copper and 0.3 grams per ton gold. So it's gold rich, but more importantly, it's very shallow. So it's open pittable, exactly what we're looking for. And this will make a big impact on the scalability of our existing projects. So this is really, I guess, a very, very great start for how Hot Chili turns a 1 billion ton play amongst, a handful of copper developers in the world holding an asset like that. But now with the wind behind our back on how we turn this into one of the largest resource bases at low elevation in the world. and certainly well on our way towards a 2 billion tonne resource. We see a lot of similarities with our Cordillera copper-gold porphyry discovery that we introduced to the company in 2019. It's underpinned about 70% of our resource base, so these things are big. This has got a very similar footprint to that 700 million tonne monster to the north of us.
And how do you play this? Because you talk about 8 of the 12 holes ending in mineralization, so presumably there's more potential at depth. But you're building up the pounds here, and you've got to start thinking about not just putting out good drill results, but you're also going to have to signal to the market about what the potential of this thing in terms of build out could be. So how does that affect your planning around drilling and allocation of budget?
Look, we have a fairly tight allocation around the delivery of our major milestones, a pre-feasibility on our copper project, and we talked about water before. We're developing a regional water concept, not just to supply our development with water, but importantly, perhaps potentially an entire region. So 2 big development projects. I know that these are things that are often considered boring. They're expensive. They're often over time. So to now layer on top a very exciting period of growth for the company, regular drilling news flow, and more importantly, provide that answer as to why is this copper development going to be better than the handful that surround us. To have something of this scale already in our hands is unique, but to have a third major bulk tonnage discovery sitting that close to where we've advanced this project over 16 years, that's even more unique. So look, very exciting times for us to be able to deliver to the market, not just the development advance on near-term production on something of this scale, which is very meaningful, but to demonstrate how this project could get bigger and longer life. And I think that these drill results do that in spades. And more importantly, to be ending most of your drilling results at the depth of our RC drilling capability. Look, it means we're going to be drilling here for some time. We had allocated a significant part of our 19 million in cash that we've just reported to this, and certainly diamond drilling has already been planned to now start extending that. At Cordillera, we saw a porphyry deposit that extended to nearly 1.2 kilometres vertical depth. We've only just touched the surface here, hitting about the first 250 to 300 metres from surface.
Okay, we've got RC, we've got diamond coming up. Are you doing any other additional exploration methods out there in terms of surface work, etc.? Because you're honing on scale. You think scale is important here, and I guess the industry thinks scale is important too. So what else are you doing to kind of prove that up quicker?
Yeah, well, look, scale's important, but also having some nice grade to throw in there, an open pittable grade. That's also important. We've got a great deposit in Productora with high grade at the front end of our mine plan, but to add more high grade open pit material obviously can only benefit the project, particularly intersections which are showing twice to 3 times the gold grades in our existing deposits. When you've got to truck this material, 30 kilometres is covered by 0.1 grams per tonne gold. So that's leaving a lot more gold coming in as a credit. We've got rallying commodity prices for both copper and gold, which we're heavily exposed to. 4 million tonnes of copper contained in our resource base, 3 million ounces of gold. That's a lot of metal. So to layer on top a potential third major discovery that is growing this rapidly, look, this is going to be significant. This is going to move us from within the top 10 pushing towards, a top 5 undeveloped copper resource in the world with a very, very healthy credit of gold.
Okay, and just coming back to that kind of one eye on infrastructure, because as these things get bigger, when I speak to management teams, they know pretty early on, where they're going to, put bits of the plant and, how they're going to build the kind of infrastructure out. In terms of what you're seeing here and the potential here, do you build that with the other 2 discoveries in mind in terms of potential synergies for processing, infrastructure sharing, that sort of thing? Or do you just drill it out as this body tells you?
Yeah, look, we've been very, very clear that we always envisaged a much larger production hub on the coastline of Chile, taking advantage of our low elevation and all of the infrastructure advantages, the water, the power. These things are sitting right next to the Pan American Highway at 700 meters elevation. So they're easily able to be brought into a central processing approach. So it meant that scalability was always central to our plans. Now, we're not looking to slow down the timing on the development decision on our existing project, which is scaled at around 100,000 tonnes per annum of copper project. And there's only 5 of those scaled at that size outside of the majors, and 50,000 ounces of annual gold production. We always envisaged something that was more around a 150,000 tonne per annum copper project being delivered on this part of the coastline. We've been very patient to get our hands on this asset. There's a couple more assets that we've always had our eyes on, but this is one of the key assets Hot Chili has been after for several years. So we've been patient. We finally unified the project under one owner, and we have yet to drill a hole that has not encountered porphyry mineralization from near surface. So we'll be delivering on the time frame of our original Costa Fuego, and now we'll be planning to add a bolt-on and to undertake a second stage. And I think I've spoken about this before. It's often good to emulate the strategy of the majors, and Teck with its Quebrada Blanca 1 and now its scale up to Quebrada Blanca 2 is very much how we're thinking about this. We were just waiting for this day where we could demonstrate that we had the firepower to do that. So very, very exciting times for Hot Chili.
Okay, what does this mean with your relationship with Glencore? They've obviously got 7.5% stake in the business. Is this rolled into that agreement, or are there farm-out and joint venture or alternative financing opportunities with La Verde?
Well, look at obviously Glencore is our largest shareholder. They have about 7.8% of the stock. They also have a unique offtake agreement with us, which means that we still have a lot of our concentrates available to market. But they're an offtake partner of ours for the first 8 years on 60% of our offtake. So I imagine we're going to have a very happy shareholder this morning. And Glencore certainly came to invest in Hot Chili because they also believed in our vision that this part of the coastline was hosting a Glencore-sized project with a 16-year life at the moment, but certainly something that they wanted to see grow in scale and mine life. And these are the kind of discoveries that do exactly that. So very positive for Glencore as a major shareholder, and I imagine very positive for a lot of the corporates that have been watching Hot Chili, wondering whether Hot Chili could actually move this project and demonstrate that we've got the growth capability to take this into the tier 1 space. And that's what this discovery represents this morning.
Okay, well, I guess some of the assumptions around this in the marketplace might be around, right, okay, you can allocate the $19 million in cash at this drilling, gives you a nice sort of growth kicker potentially, but you are still cracking on with the feasibility study with Costa Fuego. How long does the $19 million cash last you? What does that actually get you? How much more drilling results will we see, and what do you think that should do for the company?
Sure. Well, look, we're assessing a lot of our funding optionality. As I mentioned, we have a lot of credits in these deposits, which gives you a lot of optionality. We retained our concentrate marketing on our offtake. 40% of the project at this scale is already big. But what this does is increase the amount of concentrate that can come out of this production hub. And concentrate is a highly prized material in the market at the moment. The way that the metal refining market is at the moment, Matt. So that together with the strategic assets we're developing in our water rights, we have a lot of optionality that we'll assess carefully before we look at funding. Dilution is always at the center of our minds and our strategy with the board on how we protect our shareholders for that. So it's great that we've got that optionality, but we've got very strong cash in the bank. We've managed it very well. We didn't deploy our drilling budget last year when we had that very successful capital raising. And so we have most of that drilling budget that's sitting there and available for exactly this. So, we'll be treading carefully. The money was originally planned to last us into the back end of this year. So money only lasts you as long as the speed of your accelerator foot on the pedal. So we're being cautious at this moment. We've got one drill rig in operation, and the board is now going to be very carefully planning its next steps. But at the moment, we've been very carefully and prudently managing our cash, as you can see.
Okay, so you reintroduced a growth story to Hot Chili with this third discovery, but you're cracking on with the kind of development style with the feasibility study, and you're not going to slow that down. So I guess there's a little bit there for everyone. Talking about timing though, because obviously I think copper's back up at 460. We saw it at $5 momentarily last year, and then it kind of came off back down to the sort of low fours again. What's happening out there? You're at these conferences, you're talking to strategics, you've got one on board. What are they thinking is happening with the copper market? What are they doing in terms of their exposure to copper, and how have you timed this?
Look, the timing has always been on mark. We see a large deficit at the end of this decade. We see very little new supply that is near term, mainly because of the 20-year average timeframes it takes to go from discovery to production. If this was Hot Chili making a discovery right now without a resource base, we would be seeing you in 2045, Matt. So to be having this discovery on top of a 1 billion ton resource base, with nearly every permit secured except for our EIA, which is planned to be submitted this year, and a pre-feasibility which is imminent in the next couple of months. Look, the timing and everything for Hot Chili, I guess, is really an advantage for us. So for Hot Chili, I think that this has come at a perfect time. We've been really wanting to secure a couple more things in this area and see whether we could take this project to 2 billion tons as we always envisaged, and see whether this was a project that could actually make it to the tier 1 space. And that is a very rare area for a junior to be in. These assets are very prized by the largest companies in the world. We've been seeing a pickup in M&A. We've not just been seeing a pickup in M&A on existing production assets, but now we're starting to see joint ventures between BHP and Lundin just above us in our neck of the woods. Sumitomo making an investment in Winu over here in Australia. So the development assets, and there's not many in this class, are starting to see the attention of the majors, and that's really symptomatic of we have two markets. We have a market that we're trading at, and then we have what the largest mining companies in the world are positioning for, which is the end of the decade, this large supply deficit that is coming, and a repositioning of some of the majors out of commodities like iron ore and towards copper, which is the second largest metal market in the world, and which most are predicting will overtake iron ore in the coming years and be the number one metal market in the world. And I do note that gold is also taking a leg up at the moment with the fantastic fundamentals behind that commodity. So to be exposed to both is really nice.
Okay, and just kind of finish off, if you don't mind, with regards to the next steps for La Verde project. When can we expect? Are you able to expedite matters, given this is discovery number 3 and you've been hard at it up until now, or will this go through the phases just as the others have?
Look, at the moment, we've been very careful. We've learnt a lot on how to really efficiently explore and define large porphyries. We've just built an entire team that is customized towards this, using some of the best porphyry specialists in the world, such as Dr. Steve Garwin, who was instrumental in SolGold's discovery and the Cortadera discovery for Hot Chili. But more importantly, we're really getting on the front foot and embracing AI and all it has to offer in our in our exploration. Currently, we're looking at implementing that through our exploration pipeline. We've been active in the entire Damaco area, and we'll see some more news coming out of that work shortly. But certainly, look, we're pretty efficient at Hot Chili. We know how to explore these systems very, very efficiently using Anaconda methodologies.
Right, and give us the first time we've spoken in 2025. What should we be looking out for in 2025 from Hot Chili?
I wouldn't go past this quarter. Towards the end of the quarter, we're so busy on delivering on our key milestones on those 2 pre-feasibilities. Look, then we're going to move into a planning phase and kicking off that bankable and really looking to build the capability of the group so we can deliver on that final phase, moving into financing. But, what we're going to see is a lot different news flow going forward. We're going to see exciting news flow from the drill bit and also previews and a lot of things coming out of our development studies. And who knows, maybe the consolidation side of Hot Chili continues and we get the last of these assets that we've had our eyes on for over a decade.
Christian, appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.